Howdy folks, welcome to Katie Phillips Scrapbook Designs. I'm Katie and this is my little crafty haven. Today we're going to work on fin number 4 in a wedding album. I don't know what the name of this wedding album is going to be, so I'm just calling it the wedding album. And this page, I think we're going to be able to get this done with one page of 110 pound and 5 pages of 65 pound. And it's going to include a 7-piece waterfall and a flap to cover it up and keep that waterfall from interfering with page number 6. So let's get started with cutting. The base page for this album is 8 inches by 7 3/4, so we're going to cut the 110 pound down to that measurement. So I'm actually going to cut the long edge down to 7 3/4 and the short edge down to 8 inches. This just gives me a slightly larger scrap. This scrap is actually, should be 3 1/4. Yep. Right at 3 1/4. So if I wanted to use this for a photo mat, I could. It would be good for a 3x4 photo mat. The flap that's going to come up from the bottom is 7 3/4 by 6 3/4. I'm going to cut the long end down to 6 3/4. And the short side we're going to cut to 7 3/4. So that is the flap. And this actually gives me a piece that's 4 1/4. So if I wanted to use this for more 3x4 photo mats, I could. And we need 7 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm going to cut 2 at a time, 4 3/4. 6 1/4, 4 3/4, 6 1/4. So that gives me 4. I need 3 more. We're up to 6, and I just need 1 more. 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. All right, next up we're going to score. I'm going to put the score line marks down here in the lower thirds and put you guys on fast forward. Okay, I do have to make a quick correction. So this flap, which was 6 3/4 by 7 3/4. We're going to need to trim the width down to 7 1/4. That is what dry fitting is for, to make sure we don't have mistakes like that. It's still just a little bit too wide, so I'm going to trim just a hair off. Okay, and in order to get the waterfall mounted, we're going to need to mat the base page. So I've picked this this paper that's got all these scripty words related to weddings going on, and the mat for this is going to be, I'm trying to remember what, 7 by 7 1/2. So trim this down to 7 and 7 1/2. Make sure that's going to fit. Perfect. So we're going to glue this bottom flap to, well, it's a flap that comes up from the bottom, and it's going to cover the waterfall. So I'm just going to line that up with this second score line here, and we're going to align the bottom score line with the bottom of the page. Make sure nothing is going to interfere with anything else. Looks good, looks good. I know I've got a creasing tool here. Okay, so from here we should be able to adhere this page down. You know what? I think we're going to go with this side here. I'm going to use double-sided tape because I'm pretty confident in my ability to get this positioned pretty well very quickly. If you think you're going to need to scoot it around, you can always use glue instead. What I want to make sure is that I get the edges glued down pretty well or secured. I'm going to have a little bit of weight on this, so I'm going to add some glue to the center. That will just make it a little bit more secure. So let's go ahead and add the waterfall. I debated using the method where I make the waterfall slightly wider than what the final waterfall is going to be, and then glue it all down to a strip, then trim the edges off so that everything is lined up. However, this is a 7-piece waterfall, and that would be a little bit much for my guillotine trimmer to cut through. If you've got a heavy-duty guillotine trimmer, you might be able to do it. So I'm going to check and see. I'm not I should be able to get all 7 waterfall pieces in here, but closure. All right. Yep, everything is going to fit. So I'm going to start gluing things down. When I started off the waterfall, I used a T-square to help keep the sides lined up, and that just helped keep everything straight. By the time I got to about the 5th flap, then there was just too much thickness right in here for the T-square to be of much help, but it got me a really good start, and I'm pretty happy with how that waterfall turned out. So now we're on to the last page of this album, and we need to create the pocket for this pocket page. So we're going to trim, this is 65-pound cardstock. We're going to trim the long edge down to 8 3/4 by 7 3/4. So that's going to create our little pocket. And I've grabbed a 65-pound scrap. It's 4 1/4 inches wide already, which is what I need. And we're going to make the second cut at 7 1/2 inches. And the last piece of paper that we're going to need for the base pages is, this is 110-pound cardstock, and I'm going to cut this to 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. Save the scraps in case we need them for something else. And let's get started on scoring. Again, I will put the score lines down here in the lower thirds, and I'm going to put y'all on fast forward. I'm going to make a executive decision. I'm going to retrim the 6.5 by 4.5 mat to, oh, let's see, we're going to go with, let's go with 6.5 by 6.5. Actually, you know what? We're going to go with 6.5 by 6.25 because this distance here is 6.5 inches. So we want this distance from top to bottom to be slightly smaller than that. I used a little too much glue, so it's trying to glue the band down to the mat. That does it for the base pages. I did have to trim a mat for the base page here. That mat is 7 inches wide by 7.5 inches tall. And that does it for all. This is fin number 4. This is a 4-fin album. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this one. If you have any questions about this page or any of the other previous pages that I've done, just leave me a comment in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to answer that. And any of the materials that you can get in first run stores like Amazon, Scrapbook.com, Michael's, etc. will be listed in the description box down below. Bye.